Hi, I'm Alex, and today I thought we'd take a look at some of the books I have on my bookshelf just for fun. Today we'll be talking about the Chaosium fiction series. Chaosium is a publisher best known for the Call of Cthulhu role playing game, but in the 90s they took a stab at publishing a series of fiction books, and I've got a bunch of them, and I wanted to show them to you and talk about them. The first book in the series is the Hastur Cycle, and you can see that they all came in this square bound trade paperback format. They have this nice foil logos on the cover, and these early ones all had a little picture in there, and then a list of all the authors in the short story collection on the side. And the spines of these early ones had a number, so you could put them on your shelf and take a look at them, and they'd be in a nice order. They look good all lined up against each other on a bookshelf. The Hastur Cycle will be of a special interest to people who enjoyed the first season of True Detective, because it's all about the King in Yellow and Carcosa and the Lake of Holly, and it covers authors predating H.P. Lovecraft. You've got Ambrose Bierce on here and Robert W. Chambers all the way up through August Derleth and Lynn Carter and Ramsey Campbell and H.P. Lovecraft himself. The second volume in the series is Mysteries of the Worm, and that is by Robert Bloch, who is best known as the creator of Psycho, which Alfred Hitchcock turned into a movie, of course, but he was also a correspondent of H.P. Lovecraft when he was very young. And this book collects most, if not all, of his stories. This is the second edition. I feel like at one point in my life I had the first edition and traded it in for this one, but I'm not 100% certain of that. The third book is Cthulhu's Heirs, and this is a multi-author set of new Cthulhu mythos fiction. New as of 1994. So not that new, not anymore, but it was new at the time. And I honestly don't remember anything about any of these stories, so I couldn't tell you if it's any good or not. The fourth book in the series is the Shub-Niggurath Cycle, which is a collection of stories about that deity, and it has a quite lovely green foil on the cover that I really like. And this one's interesting because there are no stories by H.P. Lovecraft himself on here, just his followers and devotees. The fifth book in the series, Encyclopedia Cthulhiana, steps out of the box a little bit. As you can see, it's got a maroon cover instead of the white cover with the little box with art in it and the authors on the side. This one was a really interesting book for me. It's just an encyclopedia of various Cthulhu deities and books and concepts, the sort of thing that we had in book form before they invented wikis. Volume 6 is the Azathoth Cycle, and it has a whole bunch of authors about this particular Lovecraftian deity, but strangely enough, not the story Azathoth by H.P. Lovecraft, and I'm sure the introduction explains why that is, but I don't remember what it says, so I have no insight there. Volume 7, The Book of Yod. This is stories by Henry Kuttner and a few other people. Kuttner's one of the more obscure Cthulhu mythos authors. Was very young when Lovecraft was alive, and I don't know if they actually corresponded or not. I remember almost nothing about this one. Volume 8, Made in Goatswood. And this one switches up the format a little bit. As you can see, there's no more number on the side. You know it's volume 8 because it says it in tiny little letters up here in the corner. It's also got a different cover style, sort of a garish. I don't know if this is a early CGI or some kind of clay construction. The book itself is stories by and inspired by Ramsey Campbell. Actually, now that I think about it, I think there's only one actual Ramsey Campbell story in here. But he wrote all of his Lovecraftian fiction in and around the Severn Valley in England. And so these are all stories that take place there or involve deities and concepts from there. And the Campbell story in it is, if I'm not mistaken, a sort of parody of Shadow over Innsmouth, but about rabbits instead of fish. So if that's your jam, you'd probably like this one. I don't have volume 9. That's the Dunwich Cycle. I'm sure there's a very good reason for that, but I don't remember what it is. And I don't have volume 10, which is called Disciples of Cthulhu, and it's another collection by various authors. But I do have volume 11, The Cthulhu Cycle, which is all books and stories about Cthulhu himself. Call of Cthulhu and other ones inspired by that story or relating to it in some way. Volume 12 is a good one, The Necronomicon. It's one of many books under the name Necronomicon, and one day I hope to make a video covering all the different Necronomicons that are out there, because I think it's a fascinating subject. This one is really interesting because it has a lot of the fictional attempts to write Necronomicons that have existed over the many decades up to the point that it was written. So I recommend it just to read what various people throughout history have tried to make into their own version of the Necronomicon. Volume 13 was the Nyarlathotep cycle, which I don't have, and I don't know why, because it seems like something that I would enjoy. But I do have the next volume, Singers of Strange Songs, and this one is a tribute to Brian Lumley. Not my favorite Cthulhu Mythos author, but he had some cool concepts, and this is a collection of stories inspired by his stuff. Like the Ramsey Campbell one, it has a exclusive story by Lumley at the end that's more of a jokey kind of thing than some of the serious stuff that he wrote in his youth. Volume 15 is The Scroll of Thoth by Richard L. Tierney. And this one's a pretty interesting volume because it is all by one author, and his stories took place in first century Judea. And they're all about Simon Magus and how he and early Christians and early Gnostics would have incorporated the Cthulhu mythos into that world. And I thought it was a really cool concept. I found it better in concept than execution, frankly. Tierney did write a novel as well that covers the same character doing stuff, and one of these days, maybe I'll get around to reading it. At this point, it gets a little confusing numbers-wise. Between the last book that I mentioned and the one that I have here in my hand, they published something called The Complete Pagana, which was Lord Dunsany's stories, and they published one called Zothic Legend Cycle, which is about the stories of Lynn Carter, and I don't like Lynn Carter, so I don't have that one. The next one that I've got is the Ithaqua Cycle, and this one is about the Windwalker, aka the Wendigo, who's very hip right now with antlers and a deer skull. But this Wendigo is the Cthulhu mythos deity, also known as Ithaqua. The next one I've got is called Tales Out of Innsmouth, and it's all books about the deep ones and based on the shadow over Innsmouth and fish people and all that sort of thing. And then I've got Disciples of Cthulhu 2, which is another collection of various short stories by various authors. And that is all of the Chaosium fiction books that I've got. Chaosium kept publishing them, and I just didn't end up buying them. Some of them, like Antarcto Cycle, all about stuff that took place in Antarctica. I think I had most of the stories already. Some of them I probably would have bought if I'd found them. They have the Book of Zion, of Madame Blavatsky's writings published under this imprint. And some of them I just never saw in a store. Other publishers put out books in the same sort of format, the same size and shape, so they go real well along a shelf with these books. But I think that style has kind of gone by the wayside as the 21st century moved forward. But it's a nice thing to have on your shelf and to look at, and I hope you enjoyed looking at these books with me.